They say every painting holds a secret. But what if the secret falls in love with you? I was 22, a young artist, lost between dreams and debt. My tiny studio was all I had, cracked windows, unfinished canvases, and silence that felt louder than life. I thought I knew pain until the day she walked in. She was elegance wrapped in mystery. An older woman, maybe in her 40s, wearing a faded blue dress and a gold ring with no stone. Her smile was calm, but her eyes looked like they'd seen lifetimes of love and loss. "You're the artist everyone's been talking about?" she asked softly. "I'm trying to be," I said. "I want you to paint me," she whispered. "But not as I am now, as the woman I used to be." That single sentence changed my life. From that moment, every stroke of my brush pulled me closer to her, to a love I knew was forbidden. She was older, mysterious, broken in ways I couldn't fix. But my heart didn't care. I didn't realize then that the portrait I was painting would paint me back. Because what began as art became obsession. And what began as a portrait became a love story the world was never meant to see. It was raining the day Liam met her, the kind of rain that makes the world feel like it's holding its breath. His tiny art studio smelled of turpentine, wet paint, and loneliness. At just 22, Liam was a struggling artist, living off commissions and dreams. But that afternoon, his world changed when she walked in. She was unlike anyone he'd ever seen, elegant yet fragile, with soft lines of age that didn't hide her beauty, but deepened it. She had the kind of presence that made the room quiet, like time itself paused to watch her. "You're the artist everyone's been talking about?" she asked, her voice calm but filled with something haunting. "I'm trying to be," Liam said nervously. "Are you here for a commission?" "Not for me," she whispered. "For someone I once was." That sentence stayed with him. Someone I once was. The next morning she returned, her footsteps slow, her gaze distant. "I want you to paint me," she said, "but not as I am now. Paint me as the woman I used to be. The woman who believed in love." From that moment, his hands began to tremble each time he picked up the brush. Her name was Elena, a widow who lived in the old stone house at the end of the street. The neighbors said she rarely spoke to anyone. But in the quiet light of his studio, she became his muse. Every day, she sat by the window, the rain tracing silver lines down the glass. She wore the same gold ring, no diamond, just a simple band that seemed heavy with memories. Her eyes were oceans, beautiful, deep, but hiding storms he couldn't see. Liam painted for hours, his brush following every curve of her sadness. "That ring," he asked one day, "does it mean something?" She looked down, fingers brushing the band. "It did." "Once," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. There was something intoxicating about her silence, the way she carried her pain like poetry. Liam didn't know when admiration turned into obsession. He'd think about her even after she left, replaying every glance, every pause. She was twice his age, but her soul felt younger than his. One stormy night, as thunder cracked outside, she spoke for the first time about herself. "Do you believe love can survive time, Liam?" she asked, her voice trembling like the candlelight between them. "I think love paints itself in people," he said softly. "Even when the colors fade?" She smiled then, a sad, fragile smile that broke his heart. "Then maybe," she whispered, "you can help me remember what love once felt like." From that night, something changed. The painting wasn't just hers anymore. It became theirs. Every stroke felt alive. Her presence filled the studio even when she wasn't there. He'd wake up at night thinking he heard her voice calling his name. As the portrait neared completion, it grew hauntingly real. Her eyes on the canvas seemed to follow him. The brushstrokes felt warm, alive. One evening, Liam touched the portrait, and it felt like skin, soft and trembling. He pulled back, heart racing. "Elena, what is happening to this painting?" She looked at him, tears glistening. "Every artist leaves a piece of his soul in his work," she said. "Maybe you've given me yours." The air between them was heavy with emotion. She reached out and touched his hand. Her skin was cold, yet her touch burned. For a moment, the world disappeared. Time stopped. He looked into her eyes and saw not an older woman, but a soul that matched his. "You said this portrait was for someone you once were," he said, voice shaking. "Who were you then?" "A woman who loved a man she could never have," she said softly, "because she was 20 years older." Liam's eyes softened. "Maybe we met too late. Or maybe," she whispered, "we met just in time." That night, under the sound of rain and thunder, they shared a kiss, forbidden, trembling, eternal. The warmth of her lips felt like a secret the universe didn't want them to keep. In that moment, they weren't an older woman and a young man. They were just two lost souls finding light in each other's darkness. But love like that never lasts. The next morning, she didn't come. Her chair sat empty, the smell of her perfume lingering in the air. Liam waited the whole day, staring at the half-finished portrait. When night fell, he couldn't bear it anymore. He went to her house, the old stone one at the corner. The door was unlocked. Inside, silence. Dust danced in the moonlight. On the table lay a letter sealed with her golden ring. His hands trembled as he opened it. "Liam," it read, "you painted me as I once was, alive. But I was gone long before you met me. The woman you loved only existed in your art. This portrait was never for me. It was for you, so you'd know what it means to love without time, without fear. I had to leave before the painting took what was left of you. Thank you for giving me one last reason to smile." He dropped the letter, tears blurring his vision. And then his eyes fell on the wall in front of him. Her portrait hung there. But something had changed. The woman in the painting was smiling. After that night, Liam never painted again. At least, not for anyone else. He sold all his other work, but he kept the portrait. Every evening, he'd light a candle in front of it and sit for hours. Sometimes, when the wind passed through the open window, he could hear her whisper, "You painted me back to life. And I'll never leave you again." He would smile softly, whispering back, "Then I'll never stop looking at you." They said the portrait aged over the years, its colors deepening, her eyes changing. Some even claimed her expression moved with the moonlight, but Liam never cared for the rumors. For him, that portrait wasn't just paint on canvas. It was his soul, and hers, bound forever in a love the world would never understand. Even years later, when people spoke about the mysterious young artist who vanished from the art world, they said he was last seen in that same studio, staring at the portrait, as if waiting for the woman in it to come alive again. And maybe, just maybe she did, because some love stories never end. They just turn into art,